Hi, welcome back to Midnight Mayhem. I am going to be your host for today's episode. My name is Raymond, here with my two co-hosts as usual.
I'm Bobby, and I love horror.
And I'm Leo, and I like movies.
All right, and I'm just going to go ahead and just jump right into it. What have you guys been up to? I haven't seen you guys. I saw you for my birthday. I saw you pretty much last time we recorded. So what have you guys been up to?
It was my birthday, like a week after we last recorded.
Happy birthday.
I didn't show up for that. Hey, happy birthday.
We went to the IE CreepCon in the Inland Empire, Southern California. It was fantastic. I got to meet the Dead Meat podcast.
Nice. Dox yourself. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Like right down the street. He's like, here's my address, guys. I'm right down the street from IECon next time it's in town.
Since then, well, actually, CreepCon was on my birthday, so that was cool. And then what else did I do? Found out I'm going to be a father. That's pretty bad.
Hey, congratulations!
That's been the focal point of the last couple weeks.
The last couple weeks have been pretty big.
And then shortly after the convention, I got horribly sick with, I'm pretty sure, the flu. That sucked. That's
hopefully the flu. I mean, you tested
it
negative.
It wasn't.
The plus sign on that test, I don't think that was the flu.
It's like the only thing he tested negative on was his IQ test.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much it. Everything's been pretty awesome right now.
I forgot we can't say the C word, otherwise you might.
That's why I held back. Yeah, it's all good. But,
I just dodged the bullet right there.
Yeah. What else? Go ahead, Leo. Life.
Yeah. What have you been up to?
Just like looking for new jobs, looking for like new jobs in the industry, stuff like that.
That sounds like you don't think we're gonna succeed.
Well, I mean, because like, okay, you guys' lives is completely different than mine. You know, I'm more of like independent person. You guys have like full on families. You know, you guys both are married. You already have a kid. You're expecting a kid.
Hey.
You know.
I thought you would either be married with a kid by now, or you would at least be starting your supermodel career.
Hey, we talked about that, huh?
Yeah. If anyone doesn't know, actually, probably nobody knows that Leo's incredibly handsome.
No.
He's got the Pixar smolder.
Watch when the videos come out.
They're gonna be like, "Oh, that's the guy you were talking about."
Yeah.
He's ugly.
They're like, "We know you guys aren't gay because you have horrible taste in men."
I think my taste is pretty good.
I know an attractive man when I see one.
Hey, cousin, you're pretty damn handsome.
All right, first of all, don't lie on the podcast. It's gonna get us a bad reputation. Second of all, I mean, since technically this is going to be a horror podcast, I just want to kind of get you guys' opinions on a couple things.
Go for it.
Go for it.
So I was watching. Actually, like, what do you guys look for in horror movies? Like, you're just like, I'm gonna throw something on right now. Is there anything specific you guys look for, or you're like, or like somebody's? Is it just purely based off recommendation?
I'm gonna try not to be a broken record and repeat what I've said in previous episodes, if wherever this ends up landing. But for the most part, we used to watch horror movies daily. I used to open Shudder and just watch whatever. Click on it. I hate reading synopsis. You know, I don't watch trailers, so I'm not gonna read the summary of the movie because I'm passionate about just exploring the film for what it is, and it could be incredibly bad, it could be incredibly good, and I just play it by ear. I found a few hidden gems that way. I found Better Watch Out that way. My rule is that I put it on in the background, and we start hearing this.
And if it gets your attention,
if it makes me sit down and just watch the movie, I'm just like, hell yeah. And then sometimes there's some movies that are strongly recommended, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna go ahead and watch this through. A lot of the time, what I did do for a while, especially when I worked graveyard, since I was kind of in and out of consciousness most days, just how I felt.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I went off of Found Flicks, Dead Meat, and Ryan Hollinger's.
So you kind of use that as like a recommendation source.
Exactly. So if they watch something, I was like, oh, I can't. Before I watch their video, I want to watch the movie and then make my own judgment and then watch theirs and then see what it was from there. That's probably why I have such a big category on top of what I already do.
What were the channels called again?
Dead Meat Podcast,
okay.
or the Dead Meat channel, YouTube channel. James and Chelsea, they're fantastic. And then Ryan Hollinger, literally just his name is his channel. He likes a lot of ambiguous horror, like stuff that's not spelled out for you.
Okay.
He's more of a video essay type.
Okay. I love those.
I really enjoy his videos, but I can't watch them with my wife because I remember I was like, oh, like watch this video with me. It's really interesting. And she's like, I can't understand his accent. And I was like,
oh my god.
All right, you're uncultured. Get out of here.
No, but his videos are fantastic. I love how he breaks everything down. I know he clearly likes what he likes, and then he just kind of just explains it. Like so, he like will revisit series that I love, like the Collector, and the Collection. And it's funny because it's like we experience movies completely differently, but he hits the same like beats that I do.
Yeah, it's like he took a different route, but we got to the same destination. It is funny that you said that you used to just watch a horror movie every single day, because I did that in high school. I found let's just call it a website, Yo Ho Ho, and I would just every night before bed I would just like, I'm gonna throw on a horror movie. Like, I'm just gonna find a movie. I'm just gonna watch it. I mean, not a horror movie, but that's where I first saw Frozen, because it was just on there. I was like, oh, I'll watch this.
Oh, the ski lift one.
No, the Disney one.
I was like,
I thought you went to Disney, but then he said ski, and I was like, oh, it's horror.
Yeah, immediately I thought like, oh, that is a movie. Like,
yeah, that is a movie.
Like, oh god, this isn't Let It Go.
I like how I'm pretty sure it's the same actor that played Iceman. Was in that movie?
In Frozen.
Like, yeah, in Frozen, the
horror movie.
Yeah.
Is he the one that plays
Because I know he has a twin, so I don't think his twin's an actor. But
what's his name? Billy?
No, it's been so long.
Oh man,
just
call him Iceman.
Just made me think of Iceman immediately. But
which,
yeah, I did that
make sense for a movie with Frozen. Yeah, he's like, who's the guy who played the Iceman guy in X-Men? Like, yeah, I want that guy for my film.
Maybe he made it before, like kind of like how Thor, Chris Hemsworth.
Oh, the brother duo.
Chris Hemsworth, yeah.
Yeah, maybe it was in Cabin in the Woods before.
Yeah, before he broke it big, because I think they did that in like 2009 or whatever, and then it came out like a few years later.
What, Cabin in the Woods?
Yeah, I think they filmed it in 2009.
It was filmed out earlier, and then it came out after Thor.
Thor came out in 2011. No. It was filmed after Thor.
No, it was definitely filmed before. Thor.
No,
they
dude.
filmed it before 100%.
Thor. There's no way, dude. No.
Right,
because Thor came out in 2011, meaning it was filmed like in 2010. And that movie came out in Cabin in the Woods like what, 2013, 2014?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Over here making me do research.
You can't tell me Cabin in the Woods was filmed like before 2010.
I think it was filmed in 2009.
There's no way.
He's gonna fact check that right now. In the meantime, what do you
fact check that, Bobby?
Movie?
What do I check in a horror movie?
Yeah, like when you're like, I'm gonna throw something on. I just want to watch a scary movie right now. What do you look for?
It depends. Like if I really, really, really want to get invested. Well, actually, no. One of the main things that it needs to check for it to be like a good horror movie, it doesn't matter if it's scary or not or goofy, whatever.
Yeah.
It's the atmosphere.
The atmosphere?
Yeah, definitely the atmosphere.
That's a good answer.
Like if I can feel because I was just having this conversation with my girlfriend the other day. It's like if the movie can make me feel some sort of mood, just some sort of mood, just by looking at the atmosphere, then it's a good movie. Doesn't matter if it sucks. Like it's like I'm feeling something. You know what I mean?
Like there's nothing worse than like a good horror movie with a bad like set design.
Yeah. Whether it be like the set design or just like, you know, like the lighting or the editing, whatever, you know. But it's like you need to feel like you're there. If like the weather is rainy and cold, you gotta feel the cold rainy weather. If it's like
so I better taste that moisture, dog.
Yeah, dude.
I better lick the window and then feel like it's been raining. Well, so are you saying? Do you pick a horror movie based off the weather?
So okay, like, for example,
the atmosphere it creates in the movie.
Yeah, so make you feel. For example,
that's what he's saying.
For example,
if it's like sunny outside, you're like, oh, I can only watch Midsummer right now.
No. For example, so The Ring is always rainy, it's always moody, so it's like it makes me feel like cold, you know. The Evil Dead, it's always like rainy, cold, dirty, you know. So
quick question. So you're like, oh, like can you not watch The Ring if you feel warm?
No. The whole point.
Because I'm saying because you're like, oh, like the atmosphere, like we're talking about just the movie, or are you saying like you got to set the whole movie?
I think it's just a movie.
It's just a movie, yeah.
Because I'm saying like if it's cold and raining, you're like, oh, I'll watch The Ring, you know, because it's gonna have that atmosphere.
It adds to it. It definitely adds to it.
Any movie could be 4D if you have the AC.
Yeah,
set,
yeah, right? It adds to it. And then I can just enjoy any other movie. For example, like the other day, I was in Pluto TV, you know, and they have
Not sponsored.
Not yet.
We should just keep throwing it out there every time we say like we're like, oh, like the Disney movie, like not sponsored.
Not sponsored.
You know, just in case any legal troubles arrive. We want to talk about horror.
It was.
Oh, yeah, I should have said that about Shudder, huh?
That's what I was thinking too.
God, I love Shudder.
Yeah, dude.
Please
It's
sponsor me.
fine. We pay for the service. So.
That's one of my goals. My goal is to be sponsored by Shudder someday. That would be amazing.
All right, real quickly, I will let you finish. I'm just going to update real quick with
Oh,
Cousin.
yeah.
Did you find out when it was filmed?
Yeah, I was literally gonna jump in at some point.
Yeah.
Filmed in 2009, March 9th, 2009.
What?
I knew it. Yeah.
Released in 2011. So yeah, it was filmed way before. I remember that specifically.
No.
because they went through a production for it.
Hold on.
You want me to look up when Thor was filmed?
No. Hold on.
I'll do it.
That movie was not released in 2011.
No.
Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah.
It was not released in 2011.
Here, let me just show you my
That
phone.
shit was not released in 2011. There's
Yeah,
no way.
it was.
Yeah, we
2011.
were.
2011.
How old was I? Shoot, I was a junior, right?
2011.
Yeah.
You're probably 17, 16.
Yeah, so a junior in high school.
Okay. All right. Hold
He
on.
was a senior. He missed his homecoming to go watch it because
Wait
he
a
didn't want to go to
second.
homecoming.
Wait a second.
We
Hold
talked
on.
about this.
We talked about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. You didn't know that. Yeah. That's why he looks so much smaller in Cabin in the Woods.
You could tell. Your
I know.
physique
No.
changes over time.
No.
We're
He
talking
is.
about his bod now.
He is smaller. He is
Like
smaller.
I told you, I have good taste in men.
Here's the thing. It came out in the film festival, but Numathon, in December 2011. It came out in theaters in the U.S. when we saw it in April 2012. So here you go.
I don't know what point that proves.
It just means that it's just slightly off. So technically, we're both right.
Point is, I knew it was 2009. I don't know
You
how
are,
I knew it
though.
was 2009, but I knew it was filmed in 2009.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Besides that, we were talking about atmosphere a second ago.
Yeah.
There's two movies I want to quickly just touch on real quick because of how quickly it relates to it. We lightly mentioned this in passing when we were hanging out, Leo, about Witch.
The Witch.
V-I-T.
The Witch.
I think it's just called The Witch, but it's spelled The Beach.
It's
I like saying
stylized.
The Witch.
The Beach, yeah.
The Witch.
I like sounding like an Indiana Jones character.
That movie is one of those movies that I passed on because of my method isn't flawless of watching horror, obviously, because you're not sitting down, you're not invested in creating that atmosphere.
Yeah.
So my method is kind of like opposite to yours.
Yeah, he's literally like, I'm gonna throw something on, and if it gets my attention, it gets my attention.
Yeah.
See, for me, I enjoyed that movie because of the atmosphere. It took me
I think it does help that we did see it in theaters.
It did, but like,
that's amazing.
we did see it in theaters.
It was slow.
It was
No, I can
super
100%
slow.
imagine it's
Yeah.
Because the first time I watched it, I literally I fell asleep. I was doing chores, I was watching,
Yeah.
and I was like, what is happening? And then I stopped the movie and I went to bed. The next time I watched it, I was like, okay, I'm gonna give this a decent chance. I've seen this on other channels. I want to see what it's about, and I'm very excited to watch it. Like I can already tell the atmosphere is fantastic. I'm just like I'm getting tired watching this. I started watching it again. I fell asleep during the movie, and I was like, wow, okay. And so I didn't rewatch it for about 2-3 months later, and I revisited it, and I was like, dang, this is fantastic. And I was like, wow, it took me that long to actually like motivate myself to get through this
Yeah,
movie.
it actually helped that we saw it in theaters.
The
'Cause-
acting's fantastic.
Yeah.
The setting's fantastic.
If you're paying to see a movie, I think you're less likely to fall asleep during it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if you got those like,
Yeah, man, you work graveyard. You'd be surprised if you fall asleep through.
Yeah, dude. No, that movie, it was really good. I couldn't get into the... it's just me on this one, right? But movies where they have dialogue from like the 1600s.
no, I agree. I'm not super into like, I guess you would call them like period pieces.
Yeah, me neither. Me neither.
But I mean, they did an amazing job in that
They
movie.
did fantastic.
They did an
Yeah.
amazing job,
All
yeah.
the lighting was literally candle lighting and
Yeah,
daylight.
dude,
It was-
yeah.
They sold the movie super well, and
Yeah,
it was boring then too.
No, it was. I just thought it was fantastic that they were able to do like so much with just kind of like, not the bare minimum, but they intentionally did it, and
Yeah.
you could see it like at the grainy look. I can understand. Like,
You saw the dirt in the characters and stuff. Like
Yeah.
it's like it's like you felt the
You felt how dirty they were.
you felt the year they were living. You
Yeah.
felt that they haven't showered. You felt that it's like
all right,
so
I
it's
guess.
like yeah.
Yes. And
So the atmosphere. Then
You
again,
watch-
you know
watch
what I
the
mean.
Movie, you got to wash your hands at the end of it.
Yeah, dude. So it's like I appreciate that from the movie because I'm like, okay, like I enjoy it for that. You know what I mean? I mean, I thought it was an okay movie. Like I thought I liked it just for the aesthetic of it. You know, I wasn't too fond of the the runtime because it was pretty.
I think for me, it was
Pretty
one of those
long.
movies where I'm like, I'm glad I saw it, but I will never watch it again.
I literally.
I think it's one of those like, oh, I experienced the movie the way I was meant to. See
Yeah,
it, and
yeah.
then like
It makes sense the way
I can say I watched
the way we view
Yeah.
horror, the way we like horror. I can definitely see that being your perspective. After I was able, after I enjoyed it the third time, like I actually got through the movie. I was like, oh, this is fantastic, and I was able to rewatch it and enjoy it more. So like, it's worth a rewatch for me several times.
I don't know if it has
I
a lot of
like 3 or 4
like
times.
rewatch value. Maybe like a second time.
I
you
think
could
it
rewatch
does.
You
It
could
does
see
for
on the
like,
right, the stuff building up differently, like because you don't notice it the first time because you're like, what the hell is going on?
It's super slow. I vaguely remember something about a crow or
Yeah.
a raven. That was pretty.
The
But again,
Go.
you love slashers, so I would see that being your percent like, no, nothing's happening. Nothing was
But
happening.
but the thing
Nothing was
is
happening.
the thing
So,
is that this
valid.
this director
Also, those kids are super annoying.
Well,
they're
yeah,
like,
it's
The twins.
yeah.
this director is known for like
Slow builds. Or
slow builds, slow burns, and atmospheric like movies. He also did The Lighthouse, which I haven't seen,
I haven't seen either.
and I heard
Willem
it's
Dafoe,
like
right?
I heard it's super good.
Yes, and that's something I've been on my checklist to watch, but that's something I have to sit down and be like, I'm gonna sit down and watch this.
I did see
Yeah.
a behind the scene photo. I think it was Robert Pattinson.
Yeah.
He's dressed like Mario.
In what?
No, it's
His costume. His costume
In
is
what?
it's in Lighthouse.
Oh, okay, I was like, what?
He's wearing like a
Confused
red
me.
undershirt, a red hat, and he's got like overalls on. Like,
Oh,
obviously you can't tell in the black and white.
yeah,
It's black and white,
it's
right?
black
Yeah,
and
it's
white.
black and
Yeah.
white. Like,
Yeah.
So if you look at the behind the shoot photos, it's like, hey,
When you said that, I was like, what?
Yeah.
I was like, how did you tell?
And he also did the director, right? He also made The Northman, which is also like
I went to go watch that.
like
That was
another
fantastic.
gritty, like timed like movie and like atmospheric and shit like that. I haven't seen that one, but I also heard it's really good.
I was watching Vinland Saga around that time, and I was like, Vikings, let's
Vikings.
go. They're like larger dwarves from fantasy, you know.
Oh yeah,
they're,
yeah.
They're so, I don't know. I know they did all kinds of bad stuff, but they're cool.
you can't cancel people who are already dead.
Yeah.
The what is it? Oh, and in the other movie that something that was more like a periodic piece that I just could not watch. I didn't want to watch it. It was Ridley Scott's The Last Duel. I know that's not horror, but it is
yeah,
a film.
yeah.
When we're just talking about atmosphere and like timing,
Mm-hmm.
that movie was literally like how do I say this without getting it demonetized or anything like that? Basically, it's like
We're not monetized, so it doesn't matter
Yeah,
if
we're
we
not
get
making
yeah. It's kind of like
Speaking of not making money,
Yeah,
yet,
but no, we're
please
not gonna-
subscribe if you get a chance.
I don't want to hit anyone with a hard R, so let's do.
There
It was like
a
past Me Too stuff, like
there was an assault. There was an assault.
I don't know if there was. That's the whole point. It's
Oh,
supposed to be- it's supposed to be-
capital
like-
R. Capital R.
Yeah,
like
that's
Gotcha.
what I'm
Okay,
saying.
okay.
How do I say this?
Yeah,
Is it-
okay.
So is it like Shield Hero? Like, oh, like this is what happened to me.
We don't know. Yeah,
That's
we
what I'm saying. Like, it's not based off like, oh, this happened. She was like, they're like, oh, like this happened to me, and we're gonna take your word or not take your word for
Well,
it.
yeah, because it's valid. It's like, why would someone ever make that up? And then someone saying like, no, I didn't do it. And then you're trying to. I was like, that movie was timely for like the issues that were going on because it came out in 2021. I just looked it up, but I remember working at night shift and seeing the preview, and I was like, this movie looks good. I don't have the heart right now to watch this type of movie because we were in the middle, like kind of
So real quick,
out
just gonna bring this in the real world, just because we're not gonna get paid for this episode anyway. But did you hear about that girl who like falsely accused like 15 people?
No, I don't think so.
No, I think it was on Philip DeFranco. Where pretty much he was like,
Oh,
oh
it
yeah,
might
like
have been.
she's like this happened to me, and everyone like shunned the guy, and they
Oh yes, okay, yeah.
yeah, it's that one, yeah.
Yeah. We're not belittling anything. We're just merely like I didn't have the heart to watch this movie.
Yeah, I'm saying it does happen. And
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, like who would make that up?
Yeah.
surprisingly, more people, especially nowadays.
But of course, benefits to the victim.
So like trying to like get back on track with the horror movies. I just read right now that Robert Eggers, is that his name? Robert Eggers? Yeah. The director of The Witch, who also did The Lighthouse, he's also working on the Nosferatu remake.
Yes, I knew that.
Okay,
I
if
heard
they don't
that.
mention anything with a light switch, it's not a good movie. Nosferatu.
So okay, no, but realistic. So have you guys seen the full Nosferatu movie?
I literally
It's
know.
black and white, right?
I just know of that.
It's a silent movie, yeah.
Never seen it. No.
Never seen
I
it.
just know.
Just know the reference.
I just know SpongeBob.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a good movie if you know how to like appreciate for the time that it was made,
Like if you could put yourself in that headspace where it's like, oh, like they're not gonna have like crazy special
Of
effects.
course,
like,
yeah,
if you're
no.
like, oh, this is what they had
yeah.
to work with at the time.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
With all of the older movies, especially silent movies, you gotta put yourself in a headspace of like, what would somebody from that era think, like sitting down in a theater, like watching this movie? You know what I mean? And like the thing with Nosferatu that I loved, before I even saw The Witch, before I even started like a whole like obsession with filmmaking and stuff like that. I know that when I saw Nosferatu for the first time, it was the atmosphere that got me. There was like the atmosphere, the way things were shaped, everything was crooked.
The costume design.
The costume designs, but at the time it was mostly German expressionism, because that's like the style that the movie had. Mainly because like it was like, I think it was like right after World War One, like Germany was just like pummeled to the ground. They couldn't rebuild, they were poor, so like the movie kind of had like a really crooked style. If you watch the movie, let's say a walkway, right? A walkway is not straight, it's like crooked. Everything is like really weird, jagged. It's almost like,
it's not like a Dutch angle, right?
It's not like a Dutch angle. Literally, like the walls are crooked, walkways are crooked. Like everything is just like extremely stylized like that. To like,
now, do you think that's like set design, or do you think that's like, oh, like this is where we're filming and it just happens to be?
So here's the thing. It was both. So at first it became sort of like, we can't really afford to like make a professional set, and we can't really afford a lot of like lights. So like in a lot of the scenes like they had shadows, but the shadows were really, really dark. And the thing is that they painted on shadows. For example, like let's say the shadow of a walkway, they literally just painted like with black paint, like the shadow of a walkway, the shadow of a person in the background, like that. So because they couldn't afford like lights, when they made that. So
when did the original come out?
Oh man, I want to say 1920, 22. I'm assuming. Let me see. 1922.
1922.
Yeah. But yeah, man. So
I mean, honestly, it's crazy to think how long film has been going on for, especially like horror, because it's it's just, and
it's one of the first like movies to use this format, But it started off kind of like a cheap format to shoot movies, but it became sort of like a style. Yeah,
and like I mean, hey, if you can make a masterpiece, under a certain amount, under your budget, like, you might as well adopt that style.
My point being is that this director is well known for making like really atmospheric like horror movies. I'm kind of excited for the remake, and I'm not really a big fan of remakes, but like if he's making this remake, then I'm just like, I'm already feeling that atmosphere.
Don't think of it as a remake. Think of it as a
re-envision.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the same thing, but I mean just think like, oh, like this is a movie based off something, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be another movie.
There's not much information about the movie, just that it's being remade, So as far as I know, it could just be remade into like modern day, because the movie takes place like in the 1800s,
Do you think horror movies in general are better or worse in like modern times?
I feel like Leo would have more of an opinion of this than me. I don't really care. Like as long as the movie can grip my attention. Like I love Repo Man, the genetic opera. Not many people like horror, like musicals, and the movie's kind of cheesy and has like not the greatest effects. But I was like, dang, I love this. Like this, the atmosphere, the idea of what it was.
Yeah,
was fantastic.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, because
I'm saying that modern, as far as modern, to stay on track with the question, I do like a lot of modern horror. Because it's visually stunning, but it's not so much like the spectacle of it. It's more, it's harder to accomplish a good horror movie when everything's been kind of written at some point. Like you're gonna hit cliches.
Okay, because what I was thinking was like, for example, like Scream.
Yes.
Super fantastic for the time.
The classic, the first one.
The first
one was amazing.
Super classic for the time. Like the story was super unique. It was the first time like pretty much like horror, like the killings were more of a realistic thing. Like it wasn't super like over the top. Like somebody getting stabbed, like it just looks super realistic for like somebody getting stabbed, Yeah. It wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna stab you and then go down your stomach and then just watch your guts pour out.
But the thing is, it was like one of the first movies that not just broke the fourth wall, but more like acknowledged that other horror movies exist within it. Like you got references in other horror, like in the first Evil Dead.
But I'm saying like that was like the first time like something like that was done.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. That's why it's so nostalgic and so.
It kind of worked. It kind of worked like almost a parody movie.
It felt like a parody.
Yeah,
but it was a horror. It was a good horror.
It was a parody, but taken seriously. You know, like,
it was good.
But then you have movies today, which I mean, you obviously you're gonna have your good and your bad, but you have like something that's like as iconic as Scream, and it did a lot of new stuff when it came out, and then now you have Winnie the Pooh as a horror movie.
Yeah, that's clearly a horror.
I'm obviously it's not.
So
it looks like it to me.
It looks
but,
like it.
But then you also get to me that likes chaotic horror. So like,
but from what I've heard people talking about
hilarious.
the movie is they're like, oh, it would have been perfect as a horror comedy because it's such a ridiculous premise. Apparently, they're trying to take it like super serious, and they're trying to just make that into a horror movie.
Give some reference to people who might not know what this movie is.
So pretty much earlier, what was it? Last year, 2 years ago. Winnie the Pooh.
Last year,
2022.
So Winnie the Pooh became public domain. So pretty much anybody could use the likeness, anything like that, of the character. And someone's like, you know what? What I'm going to do with this information? I'm going to make a horror movie. Mm-hmm. And they made a movie that's literally the animal, or the character Winnie the Pooh as a psychotic murderer.
And the thing is that
it's not somebody dressed up as Winnie the Pooh. It's literally Winnie the Pooh, the bear.
I'm laughing because like I said, I'm sure it's not supposed to be a comedy, but like to me, it's like it's clearly just nonsense.
But it's not like this is dumb fun. Like I'll watch this because of how ridiculous it is. It's literally like, oh, we're gonna try and take ourselves super serious.
I guess we gotta watch the movie to make a full judgment on it. But I get what you're saying as far as how modern horror has changed quite a bit.
Yeah,
I just have to give so much credit to modern day directors though, because like you think of classic directors. And then you envision their movies like even if you were young and you don't pay attention to directors, like when I was younger I didn't at all.
Yeah,
I was like, I like this movie.
Yeah,
I like this movie. I like this movie, and you're like, oh wait, these are all made by the same people.
When you start noticing directors, you start noticing like their styles and like how they shoot their movies, and it's like you'll start noticing like all these little things that it's like you're gonna start noticing. Like you'll watch a movie without even noticing the director and be like, I think like this director directed this movie just by noticing the style.
Was it the multiverse movie?
Sam Raimi.
Yeah.
I was like, this movie is so super particular style.
I didn't realize it was Sam Raimi when I went to the movie. I was like, man, this is so stylish. I was like, whoa! And then sure enough, at the end of the credits, I was like, directed by Sam Raimi.
I knew it was Sam Raimi. I knew it was Sam Raimi going into the movie, and then they did that whole like mirror scene, and I was like, this is definitely Sam Raimi.
Yeah.
But what were we saying? We were saying about horror. I had a point to make, but I can't remember anymore. Leo, you have any opinions on this?
I mean, it depends because it's like I feel like movies.
Like, do you think modern like horror is less creative?
Oh, directors. That's what I was saying. A lot of modern directors are pretty fantastic. The adaptations, all the Stephen King.
People are definitely getting better at their jobs as the years go on.
Well, the thing is that we have more people to allowing people to shine. Like, pun. It's you give people a chance to show like next generation of horror. Like if you notice a lot of like some of the stuff that I wasn't expecting to be good was like Smile.
Yeah,
I immediately thought of Smiley, the YouTube created one.
The one I thought of when I saw the trailer for Smile was Truth or Dare. Just because I was like, oh, like it's gonna be like a smile that's like basically haunting you.
But I thought it was gonna be boring.
But Truth or Dare did it really horribly with like their CGI and stuff. From what I've heard of Smile, it was really good.
It's worth a watch.
There's more of a underlying like theme to the movie.
I literally passed on the movie, and then when it was available on HBO, right?
Paramount
at the time. Right now, as of right now, it was fantastic, and I was like, wow. I'm surprised. I'm a little disappointed in myself for
yeah.
Same thing with Invisible Man.
Oh my god!
I had no hopes for Invisible Man, and I loved it.
Yeah.
I was like, goodness gracious. Forgive me for not remembering directors off the top of my head right now, but. That's my 2 cents. Go ahead, Leo. Go for it.
So I mean, I feel like, I guess from a production point of view.
If you had a choice to go back and revisit horror, like, would you prefer to watch modern day horror or go back and watch classics? Or
go back and watch classics. Yeah, because it's like, whenever I watch like an old movie, like a silent movie, I put myself in the shoes of the people that were living at the time. So it's like,
a
like,
period piece.
yeah. So it's like,
Okay,
like
fine.
me watching
Cool.
Nosferatu. Like I can picture myself being in a theater and all these people like they don't even know how a movie works, you know. And it's like just
Like you just got that one guy in the front. He's like, "How are these people in the picture?"
yeah, yeah. So imagine
Cool.
being in a theater and you see that first image of Nosferatu appearing in the middle of the hallway, and even to today, it's creepy. You know, it's nothing too crazy, but it's creepy. You got to remember this movie came out 100 years ago.
So is it more of the creativity that it takes for the director to make it at the time?
Exactly. Yeah, yeah,
'Cause,
yeah.
like Nightmare on Elm Street, that was like a perfect horror. Like
There's so many. No, there's so many
Traumatized
movies.
children.
Yeah, there's so many movies that it's like there's a lot of older movies that don't even compete. You know, that with movies that are being released today. Well, there is a lot. My bad. There's a lot of movies that are being released now that don't even compete with movies that were released like 100 years ago. You know?
But do you think that's because of?
You know what? I kind of think it's like quality over quantity. I feel
Yeah.
like there's a lot of just stuff pushed out now where it's like, oh, there's gonna be 100 movies, horror movies released this year, and maybe you'll find like 2, maybe 3 good ones, but the majority of it is just not very good. And before it was kind of like, oh, like we're actually gonna think of a unique story, a unique premise, and we're gonna release this out as a movie.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. There's a lot of like modern horror movies are just like super super good. Like like The Conjuring.
Conjuring, Hereditary.
Hereditary. Like there's a bunch of like movies are really good. But it's like there's a lot of like simple movies that were created like in the 1930s, 1940s. Like one that I can think of is it's The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which is just, or like there was another one where I forgot the name of the movie, but it had a smiling man. They got the inspiration for
The Smiling Man.
Is it the Smiling Man?
It's literally called The Smiling
Is
Man.
it?
Yeah, that was the inspiration
For the Joker, exactly. That it's like you see that it's you see it and it's creepy. That was made in like the 1930s, 1920s. So it's like if you find that creepy,
you would get like in the early 2010 or whatever, you get an email. It's like, oh, like forward this to 10 other
yeah,
people.
dude. And if you find that creepy now, imagine people that were living in that era,
like,
or
they don't
like
know how special effects
exactly,
work.
and it's
There's
super
not internet
simple.
where you can't be like, oh, like how they do the effects on that.
Yeah, man. Or you can think of like the movie like Black Sabbath or Cat People. Like nothing really happens in those movies. It's more like suspense wise, but it's like that's the thing with back then. There you couldn't like. TVs and movies weren't a big thing back then, so you had to imagine a lot of these things.
Yeah, and that actually kind of brings me up to another question, or not even a question, just at the point I wanted to have is like horror is such a broad spectrum. Because you'd be like, oh, like it's like a sci-fi horror, like oh, it's a suspense thriller. Like I would consider like suspense thriller horror movie.
A suspense thriller horror movie.
No, like
when you watch
I would
the
consider like a
genre
movie.
of thriller,
Yeah.
be categorized under horror to some degree.
Yeah, even a category of suspense can be considered horror because it's
Sure,
really,
yeah.
it's such a broad
Well,
statement where it's like, oh, this is scary to me.
I mentioned
Yeah.
in past episodes, I feel like some of the best movies that exist have a hint of horror and it has some kind of trauma, some kind of tragedy that gets the hero motivated, and those are usually like some of the best ones, like Public Enemy, or was it Public Enemy?
Oh yeah.
Talking about the one with Johnny Depp,
No.
Jake Gyllenhaal? No, that's Enemy.
Superman and Batman.
Goodness gracious, you guys are making me.
No, that was yeah.
No, it's the movie I was thinking of was Law Abiding Citizen. That movie it starts off with a very traumatic event that gets our hero motivated, and he basically goes after minor spoilers because it's the first couple minutes of the movie. He basically goes on a revenge quest to murder the people who killed his family, and while he's doing it, he's doing everything within
within the confines.
Within the confines of the laws, because his
that is kind of scary to think that it's like, oh, like
it's an action movie.
No, I know, but I'm saying like the thought of it where it's like, oh, like I can technically legally kill you this way, but
or I can get away with it. This
yeah,
because what ends up happening in the movie is that it ends up being filed as a mistrial, and his family's murderer gets off scot free, like just completely.
Yeah,
and so he goes about, he basically tortures the man to death, and he does it like cleanly enough so that he still gets away with it. Movie's obviously fictional, but
Yeah.
the idea of that this is a very suspenseful movie, a thriller, borderline action movie, and has such a horror theme to it and gets it going, and that's what I'm saying. I feel like a lot of really good movies have just that just knuckle sandwich that just gets you like, let's go, got going, and then it's
because when you were describing the movie, I was like, isn't that just The Punisher?
Yeah, but it's also like they open with, they don't shy away from what happens. Like,
Yeah.
and it's horrifying in the first half. And like I said, horror is such a broad genre that like as long as almost anything can be considered horror.
Yeah, almost anything can be considered horror.
As long as and the thing is that everyone's individual, so what scares people varies. Like something that I find scary, you may not. I almost find nothing scary, but then some things that are based in reality, or because I grew up in religious schools, I sometimes occasionally get more scared by religious horror.
Yeah, that's true.
I know some people are like, oh, that's dumb, or like I said, the right scared me at one point.
Well, I was like, that's dumb.
But in my, like when I was like, yeah, I did. It got me a couple times.
Yeah.
Because especially for where I was in my mindset at the time as a younger man. Yeah.
All right, so one of the last things I want to ask you guys, just because I want to get your opinions on it, and I mean, primarily we're going to be discussing movies most of the time on the podcast, but what do you think the best way to experience horror is?
Not my way, because my way of sitting down listening to movies. I
mean, like media-wise, like you have
blind view.
You have books, you have manga, you have
oh, that's what you mean.
You have like podcasts, you have movies, you have video games.
Yeah. The problem, me personally, it's always like it is the same answer. I just I prefer to go in blind and experience the movie, but I know that time is so limited, especially as you get older. You start becoming more and more busy, and then you're like, oh, I don't want to waste my time, so I'm going to look up someone's opinion of it. The only problem with that is I feel like you're robbing yourself of the experience. Again, I can see the hypocrisy in me listening to movies sometimes, and then being captivated enough to watch it, but also I don't have enough time for anything. Like, it's the only way I can actually still experience. I can say, oh, I've seen this movie. I know the story plot. It was all right. Or, oh, I did not get into this movie and move on. You know, time is valuable. It's the most valuable thing we have. I want to just quickly mention some movies that I found, because I said Better Watch Out was one of them. Mm-hmm. Another one was Apostles. It was on Netflix.
You saw Apostle?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Did you not love it?
I saw it.
You're like, it's trash?
No. It wasn't trash. It was
That was a movie I put on, and then as I watched it, I was like, wow, this is.
I got invested.
Really
yeah, I got invested. Like I put it on too, and I was like, it's new. It just came out. Let me see what's going on. Give it a shot. Yeah, and it's something. It's something. It's a tough watch.
The other movie that got me hooked immediately was Lodge.
Oh, yeah.
I had obviously seen Foundflix like mention it, and then the Dead Meat podcast mentioned it in passing. Mm-hmm. They're like, "Oh yeah, it was a good movie," and I was like, "Okay, pause. I'm not gonna watch it. I'll watch it eventually." Threw it on the background, started like folding my laundry, and then the movie started, and I was like, "All right, no more laundry."
Yeah. I'll put this away in 2 to 3 weeks.
And then I finished it, and I was like, "That's like," because some people would argue this is not horror, but I'm like, "No, it is. It is clearly horror."
That's what I was saying.
It's thriller.
Like. It's such a broad thing where like almost anything could be considered horror. Like almost anything. Like you're not gonna watch Space Jam and be like, oh, like what if there's actually aliens outside? You know?
Yeah.
But I mean, if you wanted to put it in more like a horror perspective, you could be like, oh, they're literally trying to bring back.
Yeah, like if you want to put it in a horror perspective, you're like, oh, it's a movie about an alien invasion.
That would be a fun little like side thing, like shorts do. We like just explain the movie, but
like,
without telling you what the movie is.
Now make it horror.
No, just explain it in a horror perspective without telling you what the movie is until the end. Like, guess what movie it is.
Yeah.
And just explain the storyline.
That would be good.
Just a side thing I just thought of right now. What was I saying? Horror, thriller. Some people didn't consider Parasite a horror. If they're like, oh, it's more of a thriller. I was like, that was pretty.
I mean, it's more of a drama in the beginning, thriller in the middle. No, my bad. Well, yeah, more like a thriller towards the middle and like the end, you know. But it's just that one scene where it turns into a horror.
Yeah. Okay, so then with that same mindset, because I know that people, I want to be not devil's advocate, but I want to explore other people's opinions. Joker, the new Joker movie, or the newest Joker movie. I don't remember what year it came out.
2018.
Yeah, 2018.
It was fantastic. I'm sure some people would argue that this is like obviously too intense for children, but like. That's horror to some degree, and I'm like, kind of stretching out the definition there, but also I can see that.
Yeah, like
I can see the argument. So I don't like belittling people's opinions unless it's just complete trash.
So would you say like movies you think would be probably like in your experience the best way to experience horror as a genre?
As long,
okay,
a blind viewing with no interruptions is the best way to experience horror.
Because
I know, but which media though?
Yeah, because I think the only time I've ever been like truly terrified is like playing a video game, like
Well,
a horror video game.
Yeah,
because
that's true. You're right.
You have to move forward. Like something's gonna happen, right?
It's because you're forced to be vulnerable. Because I when I played horror games,
You remember when I had you play The Last of Us, or not The Last of Us, but Slenderman.
Yeah,
I had you play Slenderman.
Because my mindset is like I'm indestructible, especially when you're a teen.
Yeah, I was like I can take on the world.
Yeah, so I was like I just ran towards Slenderman and died.
And the thing with video games, you have the ability to stop.
So I get okay.
So it's like with movies, it's just playing.
But that's the thing with like your ability to stop. I think is what makes it scary. Because
exactly.
You have to move forward.
Yeah, like for me, I can't. There isn't a horror game, you know. Like I mean, I guess if you count The Last of Us, but I consider that more of like an action. Yeah, but I can't get through it.
Exactly, same. Like
I cannot get through it.
Well,
I cannot get through it.
Is it difficult or can't get through because it's scary?
It's just I just get anxious. I get anxious. Like, well, yeah. It's a scary game, but like my anxiety just goes off the roof. That it's like I cannot enjoy this. You know,
of it that way because reading like manga and stuff, there's only certain panels that hit that you could build suspense, but it's hard to build horror.
But here's the thing:
same thing with anime.
Not just manga, but if you think of like horror books with no pictures, like your mind is doing all the work. So I feel like
if you're very like imaginative, I think probably like maybe a book would be like the best.
Yeah, so like if you think I mean if you know, hopefully if you're reading like a full horror book, like you're already imaginative, you know? So I feel like that's like the best way to do it. Not my best way to do it, you know? But you know, I feel like that's the best way to just feel horror because like your mind works in like crazy ways.
And
so
honestly,
like
that
if
kind
you
of
even
agree. I
yeah,
get what you're saying because it's like your brain is creating these scenarios in your head. And
of course, yeah.
And then you close the book, but it's all still there.
Even if you don't want to, like as you're reading, you're creating a picture in your head, you know.
So then, what about like mangas where they have images? Do you think that somehow diminishes the amount?
It is because like they're painting a picture for you. When you're reading a book with no pictures, you're creating that picture in your head. So it's like you're creating your version of that horror in your head, you know. But with mangas and like comic books and stuff like that, like they're painting a picture for you to be like, this is how that horror is supposed to look. You're reading a book and it's like, okay, you're picturing in your head like, okay, that's what it sounds like, and you're just picturing the worst possible, like scariest version of that in your head. That's what I'm assuming.
So then you think books are the scariest media to experience horror?
I think so.
Like
yeah, I think so.
I think it's really good.
Valid, yeah, but
I think it's really good if you are capable of that.
Yeah, I'm not a strong reader, so maybe that's why I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not a strong.
Like,
yeah,
you gotta read this book. It's so scary. Like
the duck swam on the lake.
I'm not a strong reader either, but it's like I wish I was a strong reader though, because it's like there's been a lot of times where I try to like get into a book.
Is English your second language?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a valid. It's English is my first language.
But even that, no. But even that, even if it's like a book in Spanish, like it's like I just can't get through it. You know, like
it's hard to just sit down.
I get distracted
like
way too easily.
Which is why, like in terms of like reading it, I prefer manga because at least I have something kind of grasping my attention the whole time.
Yeah, that's true.
I know you like Juji Ito. So,
yeah.
Ito.
And then his are good because it's like you know something bad is gonna happen in the next page, it doesn't show you what's gonna happen, right? Like, it's just like, oh my god, like you'll see someone's reaction, like, oh my god, like what is that? And it's like you have to like, you know, make the decision. Like I'm gonna turn the page and I'm gonna see what this is.
My problem with that type of media or experience is that it's like sometimes the object I see is not that scary, and then on top of that, I can't. How do I explain this? I don't know. I'll make my point in a moment.
All right.
But just concluding thoughts. So you what do you find to be the most scariest like media?
In my opinion, it's video games because like when I think back, like because I've read through horror books, horror manga, I've watched horror movies all the way through. I've never once. I don't think I got past the first stage of Outlast.
I agree with you. Like it's like I played a bunch of like horror games, like Resident Evil, Outlast, like maybe like a couple. Yeah, but I finished that one mainly because like I see that as like an action suspense game, more of a horror.
It just happens to be a drama taking place in
exactly. So, but there were times in Last of Us where I was like, man, I don't want to play this, you know? Like, and I don't know if you guys played The Last of Us 2, but
I did, and I
haven't played.
Okay, there's a specific level in there. You're probably not gonna get it. It's the Rat King level,
Yes.
Yeah, my anxiety was off the roof, man. And I just like, I was like, I really don't want to complete this, but I need to in order to like progress through the game. And it's
Yeah.
towards like the end of the game
You're like,
too.
I'm
So it's like,
terrified, but I also want to know how the story finishes.
exactly. So it's like, even with that game, I had trouble just kind of like just going through it. I'm like, man, I just don't want to finish this because it's like my anxiety was just going crazy, you know?
Yeah.
But strictly horror games, like Outlast and all that. Like
the games that were made to make.
I
you
couldn't
not
even
wanna
get through
play.
like the second or third level, you know?
So then, what about you, Leo? Then what is your media of preference
I mean, I gotta agree with Raymond because like
over books? Because you made a pretty good solid point.
I made a solid point on books, you know, but I have more experience on like playing video games and like feeling like fear through video games and movies. And like with video games, like yeah, it's true, you know, because it's like I cannot get through them. So I would say, well, I'm gonna stick with books, you know.
Okay, so I mean, we got a pretty
Yeah.
interesting variety of answers.
Because I'm gonna say movies, only because I'm experiencing the story that's being told as it's visualized. Books, I can definitely see. I have an appreciation for them, especially when they're fantastic. But like with games, just like movies, there's so much issues that can come up. Like if the difficulty is too hard and you're not gonna have fun playing the game, it can rob you from like the experience of it.
Yeah.
Especially if you're playing it through a second playthrough and you're like, oh, I'm gonna speed run it, and then you like find all the glitches and it's like the first time I agree that it can be terrifying as you're playing it, but I think that goes with how much experience you have in horror. Like if you played it like a really good horror game previously, I feel like you're like, oh, okay, there's gonna be a jump scare here, there's gonna be a thing here, and then it all comes down to the director, the design of the game. I mean, it speaks testaments to if it's a good game because so many people put so much work into it.
Yeah.
But I think that same argument can be made for films and movies. So much of the stuff is just literally like, oh, this is so many people worked on this. This was something that someone envisioned, and they try to make it come to life. And I think that there's maybe because the media's been out for so long, because I feel like video games is not new, but it's relatively new compared.
Compared to movies, like movies have been around for at least 100 years now.
I think it's because video games are always adapting. Like they're always getting better. The same thing with movies though. It's like they're all. So I know, but I'm just saying personal preference. I would rather watch a horror movie than either of those. Maybe because time, I can sit down and watch a movie from beginning to end, experience it, enjoy it, or dislike it, make my judgment, and then I can even explore out. I can look into the creation of the movie, special features. I love doing that. I love seeing how they got shots and growing a greater appreciation for the film. Movies.
Books.
And video games. All right, that was a pretty good question, if I do say so myself.
Good job.
Pat myself on the back there. But
good,
that being said, this is the end of the episode for today. If you guys have any concluding thoughts, any social medias you guys want to plug in, feel free.
Like and subscribe, and maybe I'll post some stuff on from the con on our Instagram.
You're just like, do it first, and then I'll post on it.
Yeah, holding the hostage, baby.
What about you, Leo?
Check out our Instagram. We need followers. We're gonna be posting daily, maybe bi-daily, but should be cool.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and just post a link below the video. Go ahead and give us a follow.
All right.
And that's pretty much it.
Love you guys.
Bye.